Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good morning. Our important conference takes place on the end of the year 2021, the year of the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Communist Party of China. This is the year of the important sixth session of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, which took an historic resolution focusing on the main achievement and the historical experiences of the CPC since its founding on 1921. This is the year of the 50th anniversary of the accession of the People's Republic of China to its rightful seat at the United Nations. This is the year of the 11th anniversary of the establishment of the China-Africa Think Tank Forum. 2021 is also, and above all, the year of the China's presidency of the UN Security Council. The year which will mark an important stage in the new march of China toward the ultimate goal, the transformation of China into a modern, prosperous, powerful, democratic, harmonious, and highly civilized socialist country by 2049. This is the Chinese dream of the great renewal. The Chinese nation, at this historical occasion, allow me first of all to pay a vibrant tribute to the heroes, founder of the CPC. To the torchbearer of this hero, I appointed President Xi Jinping, the leader who is writing glorious pages of the history of the Chinese nation and the world governance democracy. I would like to address my sincere thanks and warm congratulations to the organizers of this international conference. Speaking on the China's view, democracy, the study of Xi Jinping thoughts help us to understand the Chinese democracy. During a meeting on the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, President Xi Jinping said, to judge whether a country is democratic, we have to see whether the people are really in control of their own destiny. He laid out in depth the concept of people democracy with its complete process. A system specific to Chinese democracy consists to ensure the status of the people as master of the country and in satisfying the needs of the people in a concrete way. The aspiration of the people to live a better life are the focus of our effort, said Xi Jinping. A major institutional bearer of people democracy, throughout the process, the people assembly system enable power and government to hear the voice of the people at all stages, making decisions, execution, and supervision. The political system in China is a form of governance in which sovereignty emanates from the people. Although China is governed by the CPC, the country practices the pluralism. 9 political parties are represented in the People's Political Consultative Conference of China every year. For a better understanding of China, we must therefore abandon the frozen spirit of the Cold War and stereotypical judgment, model opinion. We have to see China in a global and visionary way. China has found its own democratic model with a Chinese democracy model suited to its situation. Instead of developing a Western democracy model, the success of Chinese democracy teaches us that only the people can judge whether the country is democratic or not. It is neither for another country nor for the international community to decide whether a country is democratic or not. The examination of Chinese political system reveals to us that the said system differs from that existing in Western countries, which qualify themselves as democratic countries on the basis of criteria which they are the only ones to establish. In many of these countries, the political system is a veritable arena on ongoing power struggle where 2 or 3 political parties usually clash, referred to as right-wing parties, left-wing parties, or far-right parties. A centrist party exists in certain circumstances. These parties essentially derive their legitimacy as holders of the economic and financial power of domination in relation to lobbies, media tycoons, and sometimes real mafia. The fierce competition and fierce adversity that takes place between political parties sometimes participate to the root causes of social and ethnic conflict, which can lead to the destabilization of an entire country. The African people suffer from this system imposed like a straitjacket by the former colonizers. At that time, there were, especially in West Africa, both in the former French and British territories, the establishment of an elective power system with a Western multi-party system. Subsequently, Africans set up electoral system model on those of Europe. There were democratic traditions and model in Africa which did not necessarily resort to election. In the world, political systems are generally determined by the condition, history, culture, and development of each country. The diversity of systems is linked to the diversity of human societies, the history of nations, and the background of the people. In China, the political system is nourished by the historical experiences and the Chinese people, the patriotic commitment, and the sincere cooperation between 9 political parties and personalities not affiliated with political party whose name is the independent. Here, the political system adopted by the people is known as multi-party cooperation and political consultation under the leadership of the Communist Party of China. The system, which has been built during many years of revolutionary struggle, national development, and socialist reform, is a political system which lies with the condition of China. The Constitution of China states that the system of multi-party cooperation and a political consultation under the leadership of the Communist Party of China will continue to exist and develop for a long time to come. The Communist Party of China and other political parties in the country are required to regard the Constitution as a basic standard of their conduct, to uphold the dignity of the Constitution and to ensure its implementation. In China, the system of multi-party cooperation and political consultation made up 9 political parties and personalities not affiliated with political parties give way to a core of leadership provided by the Communist Party of China for the cause of socialism with Chinese characteristics. The Communist Party of China embodies the development trend of the Chinese productive forces and the fundamental interests of the overwhelming majority of the Chinese people. The philosophical line that guide the action of the based on Marxism, Leninism, the thoughts of Chairman Mao, the theory of Deng Xiaoping, and the vision of Xi Jinping. From its founding on July 1st, 1921, the Communist Party of China engaged a valiant struggle for 28 long years to defeat feudalism, imperialism, and bureaucratic capitalism. It conquered state power and found the People's Republic of China on October 1st, 1949. After the founding of New China, the CPC established the crossroads socialist system, led the multi-ethnic Chinese people to the way of the transformation of the country, the progress, and the renewal of the Chinese nation. In 1978, during the Central Committee, the 11th Central Committee, the CPC carried out an in-depth study of the experiences acquired and made the strategic decision to change direction for socialist modernization. It was a turning point in the history of the party and of China. Economic development has become the masterpiece of the CPC's action. Firmly commits to reform and opening up, the Communist Party of China has led the Chinese people to extraordinary achievement recognized by the whole world as a true human miracle. The party methodically shaped the theory, line, principle, and policy of building socialism with Chinese characteristics and start a new era of socialism development. Nowadays, the CPC structures are present in all villages, municipalities, provinces, and autonomous regions of the country, with a total of over 95 million active members. To better understand a phenomenon, we have to go into its history. In this way, as many people in the world, we will avoid looking in many ways caricature on China. A cartoonish look that it most often the consequence of prejudices arising from ignorance of blindness. There is not one more blind than the who does not want to see. China today is a great country with a long history of feudalism and colonial rule. From 1840, the multiple aggression of the Western imperialist power, the impotence of the feudal regime to face the invaders, and the generalized corruption made China a semi-colonial and semi-feudal society. For more than a century, the Chinese nation has been plunged into abominable multifaceted crises. Extreme poverty and humiliation was the only rights of the people. Defying very difficult living conditions, the Chinese people have embarked on a heroic struggle that will last for years and generations. At the beginning of the 20th century, Dr. Sun Yat-sen launched the bourgeois democratic revolution, known as the Revolution of 1911. This revolution overthrew the autocratic monarchical system of several millennia to give birth to the Republic of China. A provisional constitution is promulgated by the interim government. The Western model, multi-party parliamentary political system is established. The consequence of the flowering of political parties in the country, more than 300, in the fight for the seats in Congress, the Kuomintang National Party, or KMT, stand out from its rival and obtain an absolute majority. The reactionary forces in the country and abroad do not accept this situation. After the assassination of Song Xiaoring, excuse me for the pronunciation, Yuan Shikai accepted the throne of the restored monarchy. The Kuomintang and Congress will be dissolved. The multi-party parliamentary system adopted by the national bourgeoisie and the allied political parties and in total failure. Although progressive compared to the autocratic monarchy, the Western model political system did not resolve the major problem of Chinese society. So Sun Yat-sen said, China could not simply copy Western policy model to govern its own society because the social condition and tradition of China are very different from those of Europe and America. The regime of Chiang Kai-shek, which represented the interests of the big landowners of the big bourgeoisie, was an autocracy which monopolized state power. When the resistance war against the Japanese invaders starts, the Kuomintang government excluded the Communist Party of China and other political parties. After the victory over Japan, the Communist Party of China proposed the establishment of a democratic coalition government. The Kuomintang rejects this proposal and goes back to the agreement of political consultation, thus causing the civil war. The Communist Party of China and 8 other political parties together decided to explore a new system of political party related to the economic, social, and cultural reality of Chinese people. The CPC adopts Marxism-Leninism, taking into account the reality of China. Thus, he hoists the banner of a new democratic revolution, under which he unites all the revolutionary classes and engages the struggle for national independence and the happiness of the Chinese people. Examining Chinese society and its class structure and drawing lessons from the history of China, the Communist Party of China notes that to defeat imperialism and feudalism, to achieve the complex victory of the Chinese Revolution, it must organize with all progressive forces to form a strong synergy. To this end, the CPC makes a proposal to set up a united democratic front, hence the first cooperation between the Communist Party of China and the Kuomintang in the name of the fundamental interests of the Chinese nation. In 1948, in its famous May Day appeal, the Communist Party of China proposed to convene a new political consultation conference and to set up a democratic coalition government. This proposal received a favorable response from the democratic parties and the independent, non-communist political party, found for the most part during the resistance war against Japanese aggression, 1937-1945, and the liberation war, 1945-1949, were roots in the national bourgeoisie and the urban petite bourgeoisie. Those political parties' agenda was anti-imperialism and patriotism, were the progressive forces of Chinese society. During the war against Japan, this party joined the United Nations from the United Nations Front, led by the Communist Party of China, following the victory against Japan. Those parties joined the CPC in opposition to the dictatorial policy of Chiang Kai-shek. The latter and his allies caused the civil war. Those parties which have responded favorably to the May Day appeal declare the commitment to work together under the leadership of the CPC for the founding of a new China. Affirming itself as the standard bearer and guide the new democratic revolution, the CPC has established its leadership position among the Chinese revolutionary forces through hardship. In view of the reality, the democracy parties and the independent choose to accept the leadership of the Communist Party of China. The first Chinese People Political Consultative Conference, held in September 1949, marked the formal establishment of a system of multi-party cooperation and political consultation under the leadership of the Communist Party of China. Through this system, the CPC and the democratic parties and independent work together in the conduct of a state power in the new China. Since the founding of the People's Republic of China, the CPC has strengthened its unity and cooperation with the democratic parties and has worked to advance the system of multi-party cooperation. In 1956, in the light of the profound change that had taken place in Chinese society, the principle of long-term coexistence and mutual control was established. That means the democratic parties will exist as long as the CPC exists. This principle established the basic framework for multi-party cooperation in New China. In 1978, with the implementation of the reform and opening up policy, the second generation of the CPC leadership, headed by Deng Xiaoping, carried out an in-depth study of the experiences acquired since 1949. Measures will be taken to bring arrangement in the area of multi-party cooperation and in the interaction of the CPC with other parties. It will be clarified that each party is by nature a political union of a group of socialist workers and socialist patriots, and that multi-party cooperation is a specific quality of the Chinese political system. In 1989, the fourth plenary session of the 13th Central Committee of the CPC draws lessons from the collapse of the Soviet Union and the former socialist countries of Eastern Europe and the political unrest in China. On December 31st, 1989, following consultation with the Democratic Party and the Independent, the CPC Central Committee promulgates the opinion of the CPC Central Committee on the maintenance and improvement of the multi-party system. During the 16th National Congress, the Central Committee of the CPC examines the internal situation of China and the experiences acquired since 1978. It undertakes strong action for the regular and solid development of multi-party cooperation in order to promote socialist political development with Chinese characteristics. In 2005 and 2006, the CPC Central Committee published 3 documents which edify on the CPC Central Committee, the strengthening of the system of multi-party cooperation and political consultation, the strengthening of the work of the CPC, and the opinion of the CPC Central Committee on the consolidation and the strengthening of the United Front in the new period. In 2007, the State Council Information Office published a white paper on the political system in China. This document presents a comprehensive review of the past of China's multi-party cooperation system and further clarifies the role of democratic parties in building China and promoting socialist democracy. The multi-party cooperation system is the particularity and strength of the political system in China. Since the 18th Congress of the Communist Party of China, held in 2012, the new leadership team, with Xi Jinping as Secretary General, has led the party and the multi-ethnic Chinese people to face the challenges, deepening the reform and opening up policy, modernizing the state governance system and capacity by bringing forces together to achieve the Chinese dream for the regeneration of the Chinese nation. A new page of the glorious history of a new China has opened. Political practice in contemporary Chinese history is a sufficient proof that the construction of any political system must be based on the specific condition of the country. Copy-paste of blind mimicry of foreign model cannot be successful in China for the simple reason that those models do not respond to the reality of the multi-ethnic Chinese people. China's multi-party cooperation system is the product of the country's history, the combination of Marxism-Leninism with the specific situation in China and the struggling experiences of the Communist Party of China and allied party. The system is in line with the requirement inherent in China's economic, social, and cultural development. May the developing countries, specifically African countries, find in China a source of inspiration in order to realize the deep aspiration of the people to live a better life for the construction of a community of destiny for mankind. To end my intervention, thanks to the success of China in the fight against the COVID-19, I hope to be physically with you face-to-face during the next conference. Thank you for your kind attention.